Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to this power panel, The Future Society in a Connected Digital Age. And I will take this privilege of introducing and inviting our panelists and our chairperson onto the dais. Our first panelist in this particular session is Mr. Sanjay Pai, Managing Director, Avaya, India and SAC. May I request you, sir, to kindly come onto the dais and take your seat. Mr. Sanjay currently manages sales and field operations for Avaya in North and East India. He is responsible for go-to-market and sales management for Avaya's unified communication and customer experience solutions. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Our next panelist in this power panel is Mr. Surojit Biswas, Chief Operating Officer, Techno India Group and Sister Nivedita University. May I request you, sir, to kindly come onto the dais and take your seat. Mr. Surojit Biswas has a progressive work experience over 2 decades into marketing, operations, business, and product development with corporates such as DataPro, Tata Unisys, NIIT, the Nyota University, Rice Group, and Adamas University in India and abroad. It's my privilege to welcome you, sir. Our next panelist in this particular discussion will be Mr. Prasenjit Roy, Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer, NTT Netmagic. May I request you to take your seat, sir? Mr. Prasenjit has around 2.5 decades of corporate experience on the business side, spanning across several multinationals in India and abroad. He's the evangelist of integrated strategic marketing, covering a wide spectrum of industry sectors, including financials, telecom, manufacturing, information technology, and other verticals. A warm welcome to you, sir. Our next panelist in this power panel is Mr. Amit Ray, Managing Director, Data Analytics, Protiviti India Member Private Limited. Mr. Amit specializes in data science, business intelligence, and decision analytics, and has engaged with business leaders globally to solve business questions with analytics. It's my privilege to welcome you, sir. And our next panelist in this session is Mr. Koodli Subramanya, Sales Director, Innovative Business, Dassault Systems. May I request you to take your seat, sir? Mr. Koodli Subramanya has been Industry Director for Innovative Business at Dassault Systems India for the last 24 months. As Sales Director, he's responsible for driving the business growth for the innovative business vertical for the India geography. Warm welcome to you, sir. And our chairperson for this session is Mr. Sarvesh Singhal, Special Secretary, Department of IT and eGovernance, Government of Jharkhand. May I request you, sir, to kindly come onto the dais and take your seat. Mr. Sarvesh Singhal is also the Chief Executive Officer, Jharkhand Agency for Promotion of Information Technology, Ranchi, and the Director, Jharkhand Space Application Center, Ranchi. He was a Joint Director at Valmiki Tiger Project, Bataya, and in the year 2012, he joined the Jharkhand Space Application Center, Ranchi, as Director, and gave momentum to the center to provide the service to different state government departments. A very warm welcome to you, sir, and I'll hand over the session to you. Yes.
Good evening, everybody. We know very well that we are passing through this third industrial revolution, which is also a digital revolution. And every revolution has impacted the society in a very, very strong manner. Right now, we are also passing through a transformation stage, this digital revolution we are facing. It has positive impact as well as negative impact on the society. So before we start, I would request the panelists to say something about their opinion about this digital revolution and impact on the society. So first of all, I request Mr. Biswas to say something on this.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Singhal. When I got this, topic, so I was just thinking that even the theme of the conference is digital becoming human. I think that's already happened. But what is more apt for this was that I was looking into the impact of this digital revolution to the society. So if I have to say, in fact, I was just saying the evolution of the society, what we say society 1.0, which was about the hunting age. Then slowly we moved into society 2.0, which was about the agrarian age. And then third revolution was industrial revolution and society 3.0. The fourth revolution which we're going through is society 4.0, which is about IT industry and all. But what I think is important, which has been already discussed in the International Science and Technology Conference in Japan recently about Society 5.0. And the significance of Society 5.0 is it's all human-related society. So it's everything which is focusing towards human value, ethics, human health. And there is a data which says that by 2050, there are 9 billion people who have to feed, clothe, transport, employ, and educate in the entire world. So what is that digitization is going to do for those 9 billion people is something I think should be the topic to discuss over here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Biswas. Now I will request Mr. Prasenjit to give his opinion about the discussion.
Hello. Hello. Oh, thank you. So today's topic is the future of society in a connected digital age. So from time immemorial, humans have amplified their potential through technology. Okay. So they have created tools to amplify their potentials, be it from the flint hand axe to maybe Archimedes' lever, to starting from, say, printing press to IC engines. But nothing has been more amplified for human potential than the digital technologies that have come in. So today we have created a complex ecosystem, man, machine, and software, okay? And what has digital technologies done is started affecting a relationship man with machine, okay, how we look at ourselves. Yesterday, Ben Hammersley in Life 3.0 have said a fantastic thing. He said he was, every day in the breakfast time, he used to interact with Alexa. One day the machine conked off, and he felt an inseparable loss, something is lost from his life, okay? So the interaction, the bonding with man and machine has already set in, okay? We are not looking much into the future, it's already there. Second is the future of evil. Automation in 2030, you're going to have a loss of jobs to the tune of 400 to 800 million globally, okay? Dr. Bhaskar Ghosh at Accenture, in the first day, he was mentioning a couple of years from now on, there would be loss of jobs to the tune of 75 to 80 million. The positive side of this, obviously, is 130 odd millions of jobs to be created, but this would be in the new age, which would require new skill sets, a new mindset, a new traits, okay? The third aspect is, there's also the human cost of being too much on the digital world, okay? And that is starting from your cyberbullying to data privacy to fraud, okay? We should be very well aware of these are the pitfalls that we want to have. And last is the merging of the Indians' demographic dividend, okay, with the digital quotient. Okay, and so huge, young, tech-savvy population will have unlimited access to affordable bandwidth in internet, okay? And this would open up new vistas for them. The amplification of technology human potential has never been so high and huge as going to be in today's world. So this is my opening remarks.
Thank you so much. Really, the digital impact is too much on our society, and we will be discussing it later on also. Now I will request Mr. Amit to say something about the topic.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'll start off by asking a question to all of you, and I want all of you to reflect on it. I think technology has made our generation the most comfortable, most convenient. But are we the happiest, the healthiest? What do you think? Can I hear some answers? Do you think, are we the happiest and the healthiest generation? Okay, I see some nods. So let's reflect on that as we progress through the discussion. So that's number one point. I think the second one I wanted to touch upon, because as a professional services firm, we engage with a lot of organizations and help them through their digital transformation journey. And Prasenjit talked about the impact in the workplace. I'll take it a step forward and say that we get this question all the time. Are robots going to take all the jobs? Is automation going to make us redundant? And my perspective on that is very simple. Technology is a way to solve human problems. And the question again to you all is, are we, run out of problems? Do we not have any problems anymore? What do you think the answer to that question is? Have we solved all the problems that we need to solve? No. Okay. So as long as we don't run out of problems, we will not run out of work. Yeah. And the way the workplace will look like may change, right? Things that are commodity, basically would be cramming of information. So today, in a university or a class, somebody who can cram a lot of information is the topper in that class, right? And that will not happen anymore, because you don't need to have information to be smart. So empathy, creativity, being able to connect to one another, these are traits that will become more and more valuable, and that's a good thing. And the third point I wanted to reflect upon is the notion of responsible research and innovation. This is something the European Commission has been working on, and they're building it into the EU frameworks. The idea is inclusiveness, sustainability, awareness in everything that we do. And I think as policymakers, as technology providers, as government, as consumers, all of us have a role to play in that. So we'll probably touch upon that as well. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very true. On the one hand, technology solves the problem, and on the other hand, it also creates the problem. We will be discussing those kind of solutions and problems created by the technology, this digital technology, later on. So now I request Mr. Subramanya to please say something about the topic.
Good evening, everyone. We are coming to the last part of this 3 days event, and I personally think that this particular topic that is related to the future society in the connected digital age, this can set up a precursor to probably the next INFOCOM event, because we are discussing from technology to the societal impact of that technology, whether it is a good or bad or a mix, all those aspects over here. So over here, my personal view would be that always we can learn a lot from the history. So it is better to take a historical view, going back maybe 25, 30 years, and then looking forward what could be the impact for the next 25 to 30 years in the various pillars of the society, right from the food, and or you can call it agriculture, or the education, or the health, or transportation. There are many, actually. So how the technologies can be, affecting these things, and what will be the impact of those things on the societal part of it would be very interesting. And I'll be happy to share my views on this thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Mr. Sanjay Pai, would you like to say something about the topic?
Yeah, sure. So as we started out, first of all, good evening. So as we started out discussing internally amongst ourselves, there was a debate, how do we actually use whether technology is helping somebody, there are benefits. Everyone is getting impacted. It's a connected age. Even my grandparents are using digital today, and our future generations will continue to do so. There is a revolution, which is the digital revolution going on. There are impacts on us personally, on the environment. So I think there has to be a balance, and that's what we will all get out to. Balance between what the positives are, and obviously there are outcomes which may not be really positive. So how do we balance out, not use it excessively? We are a connected world, and make sure we are connected, but at the same time restrict the connection in ways and means that we can. So I think the theme here about being connected is going to be there, and we're going to discuss and bring out the best of whether it can be balanced out effectively or not.
Thank you so much. As rightly said, the future society in the connected, digitally connected world. But we also know at the same time, we are also disconnected. It's a very common scene if in a family, sitting in a restaurant somewhere, there are 4 persons. They are all busy with their mobiles. So at the local level, when they are sitting on a table, they are all disconnected. Maybe globally they are connected. So this is impacting our society also. So I would request Mr. Sanjay Pai to say something about what do you think about if in a family 4 persons are sitting and everyone is busy with their own mobile. So do you think it's a connected society or it's a disconnected society because of this digital revolution?
I think it's a very good conundrum. You are connected as well as you are disconnected with each other. You're connected to the internet, you're connected to Facebook, you're connected to Instagram, but at the same time, you are not talking to each other. So obviously the perils of advancements in technology today are you get this side of the world where people are not talking to each other. They are always glued to their phones. At the same time, you need to understand, especially the youngsters, they are talking, they are getting information. Yes, they are immersed in something that may not really be beneficial, but at least they are getting wired and glued to something that's giving them information. So the benefits obviously is, hey, I'm learning something. Yes, I may be going through pictures of Instagram, or I may be watching some video games and all that. But the downside to it obviously is evident. But the bright side, also looking at it as, hey, you're also getting information. You're connected to the world. So positives are there, but at the same time, the bonding, the family, the relationship, all that gets impacted. So in our world of Facebook, Instagram, I think it's important to balance it out. There is the downside, data gets captured. You have today people talking about how everything is being stored, needs to be stored at a database locally, and security can be, it can impact your security and the breach of technology, breach of security. All that is the negatives of it. But at the same time, you have to restrict it to an extent that say, hey, you put in for your children or your the youngsters say, hey, let's keep it at 1 hour or less, or make sure you don't overdo it. So I'm a big believer of balancing it out. And so there is a disconnect. Also, there is a connection. And it has to be balanced out that way.
If I can just add a point to that, somebody really smart said that with the wealth of information comes poverty of attention. If you look at our kids, right, the way they learn is by looking around them, by observing. Look at us. We are never in the present. We are never aware. So we're always distracted, and that's a big downside of what this technology has done. And I think if we can somehow control this compulsive behavior, there's definitely upsides. But then if you're not there, and I was reading an interesting research report yesterday where they said that there's serious issues in mental development of kids because mothers, parents, and fathers and mothers are not having eye contact with the younger generation. And that's a big issue, something as simple as that, right? It's not about taking the screens away from the kids, but also away from the family members, right? So we need to reflect on this as well.
Yeah, rightly said, means some kind of balance has to be there. And these are, personal, and we expect something, policies for various issues from the government. And I think there should be some kind of policy in a family also when we are going somewhere for an outing and talking to each other. So we have to think about it, and on a local level, means on a family level, how to do about it. So that's very, very personal. Now,
can I just add one point over here?
Yeah,
because
sure,
we are talking about the society. I would like to take for a moment from a technological view, instead of a technological view, philosophical view onto this thing. What is a society? It is not just a few human beings connected with each other. It is a connection between the nature and the human beings. That is how I look at it. So it's very interesting. We all, being, Indians, you may have heard about this. There is a big connection between what we eat and then, how it gets digested, and then to the health as well. So what you brought up, the topic that is connected or disconnected, is not just between the two individuals or within the family, but also, we need to look beyond that, whether we are connected with the nature. Just I take an example. My son, he is always hooked on to, most of the time rather, hooked on to the social media, even while eating. It took a time for me to tell him that don't do that, because what we eat, 1/3 of it basically gets digested. 1/3 of it helps in terms of good health and all that thing, and 1/3 of it goes as a stool. I just wanted to add this, people.
Yeah, thank you so much. We know very well that we are really very well connected in today's world through this digital media. And in this digital media, social media, and this is one of the most powerful media to communicate with each other. At the same time, we are very well aware there are sometimes fake news circulating on this media. This fake news not only create a lot of problem, lot of violence, but it is really a big problem. So I would like to request Mr. Prasenjit to say something about this fake news circulating on social media, how to cope with it.
Hello. Yeah. So before I do that, I will talk about two nuggets of the society in the connected digital age. Okay, and I think this is very fundamental, very pivotal. So one is building trust in the connected age. So robust, digitally connected ecosystem needs to have foundation at its very core. Okay, in the connected age, data is the source of competitive information. So what we do is we share attention and personal data with businesses in order to seek something like loyalty points or something like cashbacks to businesses. And businesses in turn use analytics to gain insights about us, okay, which they can use it in order for their offerings and give a value-added proposition to those. So increasingly what's happening is businesses, governments are recording, processing, analyzing all the interactions the consumers are doing, the digital. So this is exposing us. There's a huge amount of vulnerability that is coming in. Coming back to the question on social media, we are exposing ourselves because we think we can get some goodies from the companies, etc. There's nothing called a free lunch, okay? Nobody is giving you anything for free. You are being treated as a consumer, okay? You are used as a product. Companies, when they ask for information, are using you and leveraging you, okay? We try to ignore that fact. So the vulnerabilities of cyber attacks and frauds are very prevalent. So this is one aspect. And the second, talking about the pitfalls of the digital society, okay? And I would like to quote here Herbert Simon. He's a Nobel-winning economist, and he has a fantastic quote which I like very much. He said, "A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention, and there is a need to allocate attention judiciously." Okay, what a wonderful quote. So what's happening in today's world is, again, going back to the question, the pitfalls that are attached with any technologies, and digital is one of them. There is fake news. Obviously, all around the corner, fake news is there. Then there is fake accounts that are getting created. There is something called online fraud, cyberbullying. These are all there in the news. And we as a consumers, if we don't pay attention to this and we are getting consumed by all this, we are in for a big risk. So the two big nuggets that we need to watch out is, one is the trust factor, and second is the pitfalls. And we need to be very clearly averse ourselves against these dangers that are lurking around the corner.
Thank you very much. It's really we have to be very careful, we have to be aware, and we have to understand what is circulating on social media, how far it is correct. We should check before believing anything whether this, what is circulating on media is really true or not. That's very important.
Mr. Singhal, before you move on to the next point, I'll take this opportunity to ask a question to the audience and also the panelists. And this is relevant because I just thought about the news that came in today's morning paper. Some of you may have seen that the Indian government wanted WhatsApp to decrypt its messages because it's spreading misinformation, it's influencing behavior of citizens by fake news. Now, WhatsApp say that as a policy, we encrypt all our messages because we don't want to intrude in privacy of our subscribers. Now, we all use WhatsApp, at least most of us. Now, the question is, are we okay for WhatsApp to read all our messages and pass it on to the government if they feel that's the right thing to do? Or we take the risk of spreading this misinformation and let WhatsApp continue the way it is? It's not a simple answer, right? It should be decrypted. So you're okay to let go of the privacy element in the larger interest. And that's not a black and white answer in a lot of the times, right? We have a policymaker here, we have people from the technology, the education fraternity, and I think it's a joint accountability. And some of these answers are not very crystal clear all the time. So I just wanted to make this point because it's very relevant.
When we are talking about privacy issues, everyone is well aware about the Aadhaar. Aadhaar is a wonderful initiative. If you look at it from the side, that we should have identity, because this is a big problem. But at the same time, this issue was raised, whether we are risking our privacy or not. So if we work honestly, we work transparently, then there is no security issue. Security issue only comes when we do not have ethics, we do not have morals, and we are indulging into frauds and any kind of cyber crime, whatever it is. So as far as privacy issues come, so we should not forget that there was a long battle in the Supreme Court regarding the issue of privacy, considering the Aadhaar. So this is a big issue. Decrypting or encrypting, it's not so easy to solve this issue. So now
WhatsApp has declined to do this. So which means that government now has to ask, okay, everybody boycott WhatsApp. Are we ready to do that? Probably not, right? So who takes the accountability? Sorry, I didn't want to disrupt the session, but these are relevant questions.
We move on to the next question.
Can I ask one more thing, just to what Amit is saying? So, just a parting shot. So, social media and digital technologies, okay, they are not the culprits. Let us be very clear. It's how we use or abuse it, okay? So, that is the fundamental thing. And second, in tomorrow's world, the digital connected world, two things are very much required. One is the mindfulness, and second is the digital intelligence. And these are the lifelong saviors.
Thank you so much. Now, we are very well aware that India is a rural country. Most of the population is living in rural areas. Our Prime Minister is also of the view that we should move on for the digital India, cashless society. So now question comes, are we ready for this financial security? Because most of the people living in the rural areas, they may be a little bit literate, but they are not very much aware of the cyber security or any kind of this digital security on the land. And their bank accounts are at risk. Even their PAN ATM cards are being hacked. And their accounts are monies are siphoned from this. So I will request Mr. Amit to say something about the financial security of accounts with regard to the digital transformation.
Sure. Now, I think I'll look at the subject from whether technology is becoming more inclusive or not. If I look back with computing as an example, it started off with mainframes that were housed in buildings and only few people had access to it. Then we had the PCs, then we have mobile phones, and then we have the smartphones. I see a positive trend, right? So today's successful technologies are also the ones that are most simple, right? Ones that the least amount of tech savviness to use. So I definitely see a positive trend in the products and services and the technologies that are coming out, that it's going to become more and more easier. So irrespective of your educational qualification or the fact that whether you know English or not, I definitely believe that the technology providers are looking at the bottom of the pyramid now. If you look at China and India, I think everybody completely agrees that that's still a market that has room for growth. And I think it's a joint responsibility, though. I think to your specific question around technologies for our Indian demographic who are not educated, not conversant with English language as an example, I think yesterday there was one of the speakers who talked about conversational AI or technologies that is basically promoting a individual-like conversation, right? Instead of somebody having to type. So these are technologies, and this can happen in any of the vernacular in the Indian language set, right? So this kind of technology is only going to make these kind of facilities more and more accessible to a larger audience. So I definitely see there's a positive movement. There's also a role I believe government, educational institutions need to play with regards to awareness, with regards to education. It's not a simple problem to solve, but I think we're in the right direction.
Thank you so much. That's one thing about the digital awareness and talking about how to make them aware. But at the same time, there is, in India, the per capita income is very, very low. We are 127th in the world out of 153 countries. So this also brings a divide, a digital divide between the privileged and non-privileged, the haves and not haves. So this is also a big question. If we are moving on towards the digital technology, so how we are going to cope with that? So I would request Mr. Subramanya to say something about the digital divide in India.
Yeah, that's a very, very big challenge, in fact, in front of us, to be honest. And my view is that before I share my view, I would like to connect with what Amit spoke about, while he spoke from the financial security point of it, my first thought is that, see, it's a democratization of a technology that can help, basically, for the people to adopt. So if we look back, keeping aside for a moment the mobile phones or the smartphones and all those things are required in order to bridge this digital divide between the urban and the rural areas. And keeping that aside for a moment, I would like to take a look at it from a totally different perspective. When there was a divide, or rather when the energy was costing a lot, because we heard about the electric vehicles and all those things. So it was impossible one point of time to even imagine about the electric vehicle because of the cost of the energy. Today, the energy cost has come down. If I look back 40 years, it has come down by 99%. Okay, so that is what I'm talking, affordability and the democratization of a technology part of it. So this democratization of a technology, with added benefits, like you mentioned, Mr. Singhal, about the rural India, right? So I would like to look at it more from the farmer's perspective over here. And we also heard about the precision agriculture or our Prime Minister's initiative per drop, more crop, and many other things. So can we make use of one side, the technology, like a mobile phones, okay? The other side, the application of the technology in the form of AI or many other things in the form of drones, which can really help in, achieving this kind of precision agriculture. So there is no direct answer to bridge this gap, which is a digital divide between the rural and the urban, or between Generation Z and our generation, or maybe the generation before us. So there is no one direct answer, but I strongly believe that the democratization of a technology which leads to the affordability can help in bridging this gap to a great extent.
Very rightly said, and this is really a field which needed to be addressed. So now moving on further to talking about our country is also very, very high in corruption. So our rank is very high in this field only. Otherwise, if we talk about the development, we talk about the per capita income, we talk about other things, we are very, very low. So I will request Mr. Surojit Biswas to say something about transparency in the system because of this digital transformation, how it is impacting our society in bringing about some kind of transparency in our systems. Mr. Biswas.
Okay, thank you. What I feel, before we move into this topic of transparency, we must first ask a question that why are we talking about transparency? A few minutes back, you have been sharing a data that we are all talking about digital and we are all talking about telecommunication revolution in our country, but only 12% of the total population has got some smartphone. That's what you have just discussed with us, right? So I think the major issue over here is about education, educating people about what is this all about. And I don't think we have done enough to make our people to a very basic computer literate in the country. How many of you know which date is a computer literacy day? We know about Valentine's Day, right? Do we? What is the Valentine's Day? We know, I'm sure we know about Mother's Day, Father's Day. We all are digital and from IT industry. Can anybody tell me which is the computer literacy day? We don't know. 2nd December is the computer literacy day. I know that because during my tenure in NIT, we have been trying to train about 10 lakhs of people in one day about the computer literacy program. Now the point is, that has never continued. So whatever we do over today, that will restricted amount some people like us who are more on urban. But the rest of the country where 85% of our people are not that adapted to the technology, these things are not going to happen. And that's why I'm going to come back to the Society 5.0 version. Reason being, and I'm very hopeful about that implementation of IoT and AI, because that will not only think about technology, that will also think about the human values. Until unless we talk about human values, until unless we are talking about educating our child, and not only ABCD, about a computer literacy, we are not going to do anything. So that's something where I feel, and we are hopeful that there are many engineering colleges come out across the country. There are many education centers who are doing this, but from government end, because you represent a part of government, I am sure the same data is also valid in your state, Jharkhand. I think there is a major initiative which has to be taken in education and let people know what is ethical and what is not ethical. If that comes, I think the transparency in the industry system will be automatically taken care of. Thank you.
Very true. One of the most important topic, in my opinion, is also we should talk about is that there is a very common phase and a very old phase. Health is wealth. If wealth is lost, nothing is lost. And if health is lost, everything is lost. My dear friends, every day we read in the news, we hear in the news that we have one of the most polluted cities in our country. Every day, the number of polluted cities is increasing day by day. Now, we are facing this digital transformation. digital revolution. But the negative side of this revolution is we are also creating e-waste. We are not thinking about how to manage this e-waste. This e-waste is now polluting our soils. If we talk about the minerals which are already we are mining like gold, platinum, silver, for the information of the audience, I would like to say that we can recover more gold, more platinum, more silver, more copper from the e-waste rather than what we are mining from the mines. But we do not have anything in our mind how to manage this e-waste. This is also one of the strongest impact on the society. I remember when I was small, we were drinking water from the taps. Now we don't. That means we have deteriorated in our water quality. So what about the development? If we are developing, then why we are deteriorating in this field? The drinking water is not of that quality which we used to have 35 years ago. That means we have deteriorated. Now, if we talk about ambient air, I remember we used to see clear blue sky when I was a kid. Now I don't see any blue sky in Delhi, in most of the metropolitan cities. It is always smoggy, hazy, rather in the morning we don't see the sun even. If we talk about vegetables and fruits, a lot of pesticides, we are not aware. So all around us, we are already having a lot of pollution, pollutants, and now we are generating e-waste. We have to look into this aspect also that we should manage e-waste. Like we have created a lot of polythenes which are havoc, and it's a big problem to resolve that issue. Now this is the second issue which is going to crop up in a very, very big way, that is the e-waste. My dear friends, these were the few of the topics our society is facing from the point of view of this digital revolution. Now I would request the audiences, if they want to pose any questions related with this digital revolution and connected society, you are most welcome to ask the question from our panels.
So can I?
Can we have a microphone there?
Mr. Singhal, Mr. Singhal?
Hello.
Yeah.
What kind of digital disruption we are expecting in future? And what will be the impact of the digital disruption in future for the society?
Sorry, can you repeat? Digital disruption?
What kind of digital disruption is going to be held in future? Okay. And what will be the impact of the society with this digital disruption?
Mr. Singhal, I would like to answer that question.
Okay, sure.
Okay. First of all, I would like to take, as I said, historical view and then the futuristic view in order to address your question, because nobody has seen the future, right? If I look back late 80s, then the access to the computer itself was a big, big challenge. I still remember my engineering days where I had to book a night slot for accessing the computer to do the programming, okay? And as against that, if we look at today, yeah, everybody, Generation Z, what I would like to call, they have access to the huge computing power on this device, right? So what is happening, as I said, the democratization of a technology has led to a lot of a revolution, be it in the area of retailing, what we have heard, or be it in the area of health, or be it in the area of education or many things, right? Now, if I have to take a futuristic view from here onwards, it's only the views and the perspectives that we'll be able to share. The first, in terms of, if I have to look at it from the health perspective, let's say, okay? The technologies like virtual reality are going to play a major, major role in addition to, of course, the artificial intelligence and IoT and many other things, basically. So it's basically today the surgical planning, which is being done. Since I'm talking about the health, I'm taking a surgical planning, which is being done, physically That is, some companies are doing that surgical planning in a virtual world. Okay, that's going to be, happen in a very, very near future. This is the point number one. And if I have to take a look at virtual reality, okay, today we have all traveled from various parts of the country to assemble here for the conference. Now, the lens that the scientists are working, which can go into our eyes, okay, either this kind of a lens, the glasses, or it could be a contact lens, okay. With using that and then, with the virtual reality, we will be able to have a conference in exotic locations across the globe, okay. It means that there is no need to travel. So it means that the transportation industry might get affected also, okay? Because the purpose of a travel has to be with certain reasons, right? If I am able to get the things done sitting at one place, then the rest of the things might get affected. So these are some of the examples that come to my mind, and the applications can be in many other areas. Thank you.
I would simply say it is very, very difficult to interpret what kind of digital disruptions can happen in the future. Because if you talk about few years back, nobody might have thought that we can get connected to the persons which are our school age friends when we are in the schools. Today we are connected to everyone. We have discovered everyone. It's through these social applications. If you talk about medical health, nobody could have thought, means an operation going on here in India and can be guided by a surgeon sitting in US. Anything can happen. So it is very difficult to predict, and a lot of support is being given to the innovative ideas. So anything can happen in the future, and it's very, very difficult to predict what is going to happen and in what direction we are going to move. This is not predictable. Yeah, a lot of uncertainty. And the positive and negative, both effects are there. We have to be ready for that. Yeah, means a lot of health hazards are there because of this digital revolution. I was just talking to my colleagues before this session. One of my friends is having a slip disc because of his working a lot of on computers that has a lumbar slip disc because of this kind of. So everything has positive as well as negative impacts. Disruptions will be there, but there will be positive as well as negative impacts on the society, and we have to be ready for that, and we have to address those kind of issues also at the same time.
So I don't think that disruption is negative. Disruption is always positive, because like 10 years back, we couldn't think about this Instagram or this Facebook like that. But nowadays, we are passing through also disruption. Is it not?
Yeah, that's true.
I just want to add, because I know they are my friend from education society, fraternity. I think the best, and the largest disruption will happen of technology in education, trust me. Because we all know the thing which is the biggest challenge in front of us is to get quality faculty. And that is the first and the last thing which is going to let our industry grow. And I'm quite sure in near future there will be a huge usage of artificial intelligence and IoT in imparting our education. Because teaching as a profession today is not very sought after profession for the young generation. And to change that perception will not be so easy for us. So probably I think AI and IoT will play a major role in our education to make it more quality and to reach the last possible point of the country. That's what I feel is going to happen in future. Thank you.
Just since you are from the education side, I'll take an example what is going on.
I am also from IT side. You can tell anything.
Fine. The mix of everything then. All right. Working with Stanford University and consortium, we from a Dassault system, we have developed something called virtual heart. It is called a living heart, and it beats. Okay? What is the significance of that? Okay? One, from the education point of it. The second, it is a healthy heart, male heart. Let me also tell you that. Now, what is going on? So when a patient walks in, and then based on his condition, the doctors will be able to infuse, tweak the heart to meet that condition, and then test how it is going to react to the infusion of the drug, okay? So we are working from the heart onto other live organs as well, okay? So the power of this can be anything, and then it is very difficult to predict. That's where the scientists are working, and it can have both positive as well as a negative impact as well.
Thank you so much. Any other question from the audiences, please? Yeah, please.
Namaskar, everyone. My question is, India is generally an agriculture-based society. So what is the role of AI in agriculture-based society, in our development of agriculture? Thank you very much.
Okay. So shall I answer?
Sure, please.
So AI is having role in all the fields. If you are talking about agriculture, definitely AI is a very, very important role. But the question is that, are our farmers ready for that? I think this is a very big question. Our farmers are one of the poorest persons in India. Unfortunately, that society is suffering. So if we talk about penetration or intervention from the technology side, it's not going to them. It may benefit the researchers. It may benefit the academicians. It may benefit the bureaucrats. But talking about farmers, it's not going to impact them directly because they do not have. First of all, we need to strengthen them economically. We have to provide them markets. We have to provide them linkages. We have to provide them storage and transportation facilities. And then we have to provide them the technology. It has a very important role. But right now, I don't see this is the right time to provide these kind of inputs to the farmers of India. They need to be brought to a higher level economically. They need finance. They need funds. They need money. That is most important. Of course, otherwise AI is an important tool for everything, for analysis and for finding the conclusions out of that.
So I don't know if you attended the session yesterday or the day before where the Microsoft COO was here. He talked about what they're doing with the farmers in India. If you look at the developed markets, the ticket size of a farm is hundreds of hectares, right? The amount of robotics and analytics that has helped those countries is very different from what is applicable here, because you're talking about farmers who are dealing with a few hectares or a fraction of that, right? So one of the things that he was talking about is how Microsoft is working with the farmers to develop predictive modeling for weathers, right? So they can basically ingest data from various public available information on weather and send alerts to the farmers about when it's the right time to sow, when it's the right time to harvest. Obviously, there are many other applications that are already in place today for fishermen and others, but I think I agree with Mr. Singhal in terms of for the benefit of that to reach the farmer, it's a different story altogether. So it's our good fortune that organizations like Google, Facebook, and Microsoft are ready to invest in countries like ours without looking at a direct financial impact in the short term, because they have the backing of the VCs and the deep pockets to kind of do a CSR activity and then use it as an use case for them. But I think as a country, whether as bureaucrats, as our political system, whether we are ready to enable them is a different question altogether. I can come up with 100 use cases for how farmers can benefit from AI, right? But whether the farmer as an individual will benefit is a different question.
So with that, we come to the end of the session. And I would like to thank Mr. Sanjay, Mr. Subramanya, Mr. Amit, Mr. Prasenjit, Mr. Biswas for giving their views on this important topic. And really, I thank all the audience for participating in this discussion. Once again, I would like to thank each and every person sitting in this room and to the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We thank the chairperson and our panelists. May I request you to kindly step forward, and I'll request Mr. Chandan Majumdar, Director Sales of ABP Private Limited, to kindly come forward and present mementos as a token of our gratitude to the chairperson and the panelists. Thank you very much for this very, very interesting session. We thank the chairperson, Mr. Sarvesh Singhal, the panelists, Mr. Sanjay Pai, Mr. Surojit Biswas, Mr. Prasenjit Roy, Mr. Amit Ray, and Mr. Koodli Subramanya. Thank you very much, sir. May I request you to kindly step forward for a photo option? Thank you very much.